Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to Hasidic Shabbat. Before we talk further about that, I'd like to remind you to please make sure your cell phones are turned off. Please do that. So in the Hasidic tradition, the Messiah could be anyone. The person next to you could be the Mashiach. You wouldn't know until the moment that we need to know. So would you turn to the Messiah, potential Messiah next to you or near you, and wish them Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
So even though we're not Hasids, I'm not a Hasid, I was lucky enough to go to a really interesting rabbinical school which was trans-denominational, called the Academy for Jewish Religion, which means that we studied every aspect of Judaism, and then we decided, what resonated with us. And even though I never wanted to be a Hasid, I certainly love so much of the Hasidic teachings and some of the Hasidic philosophy that I think is universal or certainly applies to any Jew. So I want to just give you a tiny little taste of some of their beliefs. The first is that every Jew can connect with God. You don't have to be a great scholar. You can be the poorest of the poor. You don't have to be rich. You don't even have to be educated. By doing mitzvahs, by doing good deeds, by doing what I call holy obligations with love, joy, and humility. Hasidism has a lot of Kabbalah in it. It's very mystical. And one of the core mystical beliefs is that everything is infused with God, that God is everywhere, in everything, and that God cares about us deeply. They say God cares about every blade of grass, that God is very concerned with us and is connected to us, and they live their lives that way. They also believe that when you do good deeds, you release holy sparks into the world. You release goodness into the world, which I think we could agree with, that when you do good deeds, something is released in us and in the person who is the recipient and anyone who happens to witness that good deed. Some of them have different beliefs. Some believe in just being joyful. Some believe in private meditation. Some believe in Torah study and living a very simple life with, none of the accoutrements at all. They're very simple. They receive guidance from a Rabbi. A Rabbi in classical Hasidism is actually a connection between God and the rest of the people. The Rabbi has insights and helps you live a holier life. The Hasidim value song. They value singing, and the most beautiful singing is the nigun, which is the song without words that just comes from your soul. And they love to clap, so I hope you'll be Hasidic that way tonight and do some clapping. And finally, the Hasidim love to tell stories, and we're going to be hearing some Hasidic stories during our service. So with that, we're going to open. The Cantor is going to open with a nigun.
And I want to teach you a nigun. So, Rabbi Nanus, you talked about this idea of the Hasidim and their connection to these songs without words. And you also talked about how looking at the person sitting next to you, who knows, they could be the Mashiach. And the Hasidim also believed that through singing these songs that had no words attached to them, that we actually could make a difference in the world, and that we elevated our souls and the souls of those around us through these syllables without any meaning attached to them. I'm in need of that teaching right now because I feel sometimes like I want to do something and I don't know what to do. And so I want to teach you this nigun because maybe you're feeling the same way right now. And maybe you want to feel uplifted and uplift those around you. So this is a nigun that goes along. First, we're going to sing it without words. And then we'll sing these words, Yedid Nefesh, heart's delight, source of mercy, draw your servant into your arms. So this is another Hasidic idea, asking God to be close to us, to draw us close. You can find those words on page 10, or you can just do the lie, lie, lie part. So I'm going to sing a little bit of it to you, and maybe you'll sing it back to me. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Your turn. Ya lie, lie, lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Let's try that. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. You are really good. I think we're going to change the world together. Let's try it the whole way through. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 la, la, lie, lie, lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 ya lie, 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 lie. Ya lie, 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 lie. Page 10, Yedid Nefesh, Avarachaman, Meshoch Avdecha, Eretz Onecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Kemo Aya, Yishtachave, El Mul Hadarecha, Lai, 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 lai. Back to the beginning. Ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 la, la, lai, lai, lai. Ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya lai, 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 ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
So Hasidic, it says in the Talmud, and Hasidic masters believe that the soul is the candle of God. So I'm going to invite up Joanne and Fonda to light the Shabbat candles and bring the soul of Shabbat into our midst.
And the rest of us, we can find the blessing on page 2. I think it's humid out here. It's actually a really great metaphor. Sometimes it's easy to light that light in our hearts and to share it with others. And sometimes it takes some work to get that flame going. Tonight's one of those nights where it's taking a little bit of work, but it's going to be worth it. And I hope, Joanne and Fonda, you don't feel like I was picking on you. And that Rabbi Nanus was picking on you when we asked you to join us. Beautiful. Now that we've got that light going, or almost going, I'm going to bring it into our hearts. And we'll join in the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Fonda and Joanne, thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
A rabbi used to let his son wander in the woods, but worried for his safety. He decided to discuss the matter with his child. One day he took him aside and said, "You know, I have noticed that each day you walk into the woods. I wonder, why do you go there?" The boy said to his father, "I go there to find God." "That is a very good thing," the father replied gently. "I'm glad you are searching for God. But my child, don't you know that God is the same everywhere?" "Yes," the boy answered, "but I am not." That is why the Kabbalists used to go into the fields and greet the Shabbat bride every Friday afternoon in Safat. They dressed like grooms. They wore white. And it was a beautiful wedding between Shabbat and the Jewish people. Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, שמור וזכור ודיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם תפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לך ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם ניסוחה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, 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 שירו דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Rise and face the back to welcome in the Shabbat bride.
בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה, לך דודי, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
Please remain standing and turn to page 26 for the call to prayer, the Baruch. Join me and read together on the bottom of page 30 in English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening.
El Chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hamari v'aravim.
Once a rabbi and a soap maker went for a stroll. As they walked along, the soap maker challenged the rabbi. "What good is the Torah? The world is still full of misery and trouble." The rabbi was quiet. They came upon a young child playing. The child was covered with dirt and grime. The rabbi turned to the soap maker and said, "What use is soap? With all the soap that exists, this child is still filthy." "But Rabbi, soap can't do any good unless we use it." "So it is with the Torah," the rabbi replied. "We must apply the words to our lives," which is exactly what Ahavat Olam is on page 32.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל, עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך. ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ועבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated as we continue with the Via Hafta on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
There's a famous story told in Hasidic literature that addresses a very interesting question. The Baal Shem Tov teaches the student that God created everything in the world to be appreciated, since everything is here to teach us a lesson. One clever student asks, what lesson can we learn from atheists? Why did God create them? The Baal Shem responds, God created atheists to teach us the most important lesson of them all, the lesson of true compassion. You see, when an atheist performs an act of charity, visits someone who is sick, helps someone in need, and cares for the world, he is not doing so because of a religious teaching. He does not believe that God commanded him to perform this act. In fact, he does not believe in God at all. So his acts are based on an inner sense of morality and goodness. And look at the kindness he can bestow upon others simply because he feels it is to be right. This means that when someone reaches out to you for help, you should never say, I pray that God will help you. Instead, for a moment, you should become an atheist. Imagine there is no God who can help, and say, I will help you. We continue with the Micha Mocha, where God did help the Israelites, but then they had to learn to help themselves, which wasn't that easy for them. It took them 40 years. On page 40, Micha Mocha.
Yabba bye 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 bye, yabba bye bye bye, yabba bye 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 bye, bye bye bye, yabba bye 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 bye, yabba bye bye bye, yabba bye bye, yabba bye bye bye. Mi chamacha b'ayim Adonai, mi chamacha nedar b'kodesh, nor atilot osef ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל יאבא ביי 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 יאבא ביי 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 יאבא ביי 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 יאבא ביי 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 יאבא ביי ביי ביי
No matter how poor you were, no matter how difficult your week, no matter how many bad things happen, all Jews, and the Hasidim particularly, look forward to Shabbos. Shabbos is a time to just forget for 24 hours about the burdens and the problems and rest and spend time with our family, eat good food, share our thoughts, our hearts with each other. And as they say, the Jews did not make Shabbat or Shabbos. Shabbos makes the Jews. Vishamru.
Vishamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריד עולם ושם
So as I said, there are many kinds of Hasidim. I find one of my favorites are the Breslov Hasidim, Breslov, and they're the followers of Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, or Bratslav, depending on where you're from, and that is the place in Uman, I think it's called, Ukraine, where thousands of Hasidim before this terrible war would make a pilgrimage at Rosh Hashanah every year to his grave. He was the grandson or great-grandson? Great-grandson, I think, of the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, but he had some of his own personal style, and one of them was he created this concept of hitbodedut, which means introspection, meditation, personal prayer to God, where he said you should go out into nature, which we are tonight. We're outside under these beautiful trees, this beautiful sky, and have a personal praying experience with God. So tonight we're going to please rise. We're going to pray silently in hitbodedut to some beautiful music. Ask God for what you need, what you want for yourself, for the world, for your family. This is the time to pray to God. We have praised him, we have thanked him, and now we are entitled to ask for his blessing, for God's blessing for what we need. So we will now have a silent Amidah. Please be seated.
Elohai Neshama, my soul came to me pure, drawn from the reservoir of the holy. All the time it remains within me. I am thankful for its thirst, for compassion and justice. Let my eyes behold the beauty of all creatures. Let my hands know the privilege of righteous deeds.
Ata
Those sirens remind us that there are people who need blessings of healing, whether it's physical, spiritual, or emotional. We're going to be saying the Misha Berach prayer in a few moments. I have a list of some congregants who would like to be blessed. Nicole Leah Alkov, Jeffrey G., Merlot Gandushi, Levi Jonathan, Trevor Sangster, Charles Schwartz, Alan Cerroti, and Sonny Brody. I have a brother who has 2 sons who live in Highland Park, Illinois. They were at the parade. And my brother has 6 grandchildren, and they were at the parade. Thank God they were okay. But the little boy who was shot the 8-year-old boy was in my great-nephew's Sunday school class. So we include him in our prayers. And now if there's someone in your life who needs a blessing of healing, please stand now. And when I call on you, please say their name out loud so we may all bless them. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
My husband, Michael Alcott, and my daughter, Nicole Leah Alcott.
Are they okay? Page 253, Misha Berach. So probably the most famous Hasidim are the wise men of Chelm. And there are so many wonderful stories. And the Chelm story always lifts our spirits. So tonight I'm going to tell a Hasidic Chelm story, but at the end I'm going to ask you to be Rebbis and help me decide on the conclusion.
Bye 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 bye. I did it, da 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 da. Bye 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 bye. I did it, da 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 da. Yeah, bye 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 bye. I did it, da 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 da. Yeah, bye 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 bye. I did it,
Of all the things the people of Chelm loved, they loved the moon most of all. When it shone brightly in the night sky, there was joy and celebration in the town. Everything in the town was brighter. Homes would glow with happiness. Lovers would walk through the town slowly, staring into each other's eyes. Children would listen to their parents and their teachers. The old, the young, even dogs and cats were kind and considerate to one another. But when the moon waned and disappeared, a gloomy sadness settled over everyone. We have to do something about this, proclaimed the town leaders. We have to find a way to stay joyful even on the dark nights. But how? If only we could capture the moon, one Helm genius declared. Then we could let out a little light on those dark, gloomy nights and bring happiness to the world. But how do you capture the moon? The townspeople wondered. Well, offered Schmerl the tailor, once I was eating a bowl of soup, and as I ate, I looked into the bowl, and in the bowl was the light of the moon. If we had a big enough bowl of soup, perhaps we could capture the moon. And so it was determined. They would build the world's biggest bowl, fill it with soup, and capture the moon. In the town square, a giant bowl was constructed, and one night as the moon shone brightly in the sky, the whole town came forth with soup. Jars of soup, pots of soup, vats of soup, bathtubs full of soup. Soon they had filled the world's largest bowl, and as the bowl filled up, the moon's brilliant light was reflected in it. There it is, they shouted. Stealthily they snuck up on the moon. Then all at once they slammed the top on the bowl. At that very moment, a cloud covered the sky, blotting out the moon's light. We own the moon, they shouted. It is right here in the world's biggest bowl of soup. We own the moon. That night, there was dancing and rejoicing all night long in the town of Helm. But the next night, as the sun went down and darkness covered the land, the moon rose again, bright as ever, shining high in the sky. Everyone in Helm was perplexed. How can the moon be in the sky? We captured it right here in the town square in the world's biggest bowl of soup. Someone must have let it out, shouted Shoshana, the matchmaker. But who? Who would do such a terrible thing? Asked Avram the butcher. And so an investigation was launched. Everyone in the town was interrogated. Each person was required to account for his or her whereabouts all during the day. No one was spared. No one except, of course, the rabbi. No one would suspect the rabbi, beloved, wise, and learned, would. No, it couldn't be, not the rabbi. But the investigation came up empty. Everyone had an alibi. Everyone was in school, at work, in the fields, in the shops, at home. Everyone but the rabbi. And so the townspeople of Helm timidly approached their beloved rabbi. Learned rabbi, did you let the moon out of the soup? The designated spokesperson inquired. Yes, he sighed, it was I. A shock ran through the town. But why, dear rabbi, why? They persisted. Why? He looked at them through his bushy white eyebrows and stroked his long white beard. Why? Because there are things we enjoy while we have them. They are ours to own and to hold and to enjoy, like a shirt someone offered or a shoe. And there are other things, the rabbi continued, things of far greater value that we enjoy only when we share them. Do you know what those things I mean? Do you know which things I mean? Love, someone suggested. Yes, love, he answered. And hugs, someone offered. Yes, hugs. And joy, they shouted. Yes, joy. And the moon, said Schmerl the tailor sadly. Yes, the moon as well, the rabbi responded. Only when we share it can we really enjoy its light. And so I was the one who let the moon out, and now all the world can share it. But what will we do now on dark nights when the moon disappears? We'll be sad and gloomy and dark, the people cried. That's true. Into every life comes times of sadness, darkness, and gloom. That's part of life. We'll just have to find something else to share that sustains us when that happens. Like what, they asked. So now I ask you, like what? The Torah. The soup. Anyone else? What else could we share? Yes. Hope. Beautiful. What else? What else could we share in times of darkness? A hug. kindness, community, many, many things. Yes. A song. Oh, I love that, a song. Music, yes. So there are many things, and there are dark times, not just in Chelm, but everywhere. Right now it's particularly hard. And so we share everything that we mentioned, though, who said soup? Did you read the story? Have you ever read this story? Like a bubby. And soup, declared the rabbi. We'll share soup. If you can't own the moon and share happiness all the time, the next best thing is to share soup. And so it was declared a tradition on nights when the moon disappeared and the night sky grew dark and gloomy, everyone shared soup and hope and strength and song and community. And it helped. For soup may not bring happiness, but it helps.
Ya da 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 da, I da di da da di da 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 da. Ya ba bye 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 bye, I da di da da di da 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 da. Ya ba bye 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 bye, I da di da da di da 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 da. Ya ba bye 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 bye, I da di da da di da 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 da.
So before we conclude, I only have one announcement, that we have rugula and mandel bread and strudel, straight from Chelm for the Oneg Shabbat.
No soup.
Afterwards.
No
No
soup.
soup, though. Soup would be a good idea. Yes, absolutely. And please remain at the end. We're going to sing a special closing, and then we're going to just say Kiddush and Motzi, and then we're going to invite you to join us in the back. In 2 weeks, well, Cantor, Shapiro, and I are going to be here next week, but we know that at the end of the month, we're going to be doing a special sing-along Shabbat called Rise Up Singing, with songs of hope, protest, anti-war, folk songs, music. We're going to have maybe another guest singer, we think. We're not sure. Working on that. More musicians, and it's going to be a sing-along, and we hope you'll all put that in your calendar for July 29th. So that'll be great. So now we turn to our tradition of remembering those who are no longer with us as we prepare to say Kaddish. We begin with those who passed away during Shloshim this past 30 days. Steve Alexander, Eugene Pantuk, Marcy Siegel, Walter Shamist, Rita Weiss. We also remember those whose yortzites took place during the past week, the anniversaries of their deaths. Maurice Abameyer, William Adler, Miriam Arnau, Robin Rose Artiaga, Alan Barbacow, Norman Beck, Arnold Baylor, Elihu Ben-Gera, Anat Ben-Ishai, Lee Bennett, Eva Bernstein, Ray Bodashansky, Glyka Brenner, Albert Berg, David Cantor, Ed Chanis, Henrietta Cohen, Louise Creamer, Sheldon Dorff, Maurice Eskowitz, Frida Fine, Beth Lisa Feldman, Shirley Fenton, Ellen Flanagan, Malcolm Fleischer, Theodore Flesch, Dorothy Jean Fox, Blanche Friedman, Harry G., Karen Gerard, Raymond Gertz, Lawrence Gingold, Ida Goldberg, Michael Goldstein, Edward Gottlieb, William Gottschalk, Lillian Grossberg, Max Grossflam, Dora Hoffman, Minna Horowitz, Monroe Eisen, Perry Jacobs, Elizabeth Jacob, Sion Javaheri, Charlotte Josko, Deary Karatz, Mayor Katan, Minnie Kent, Max Kessler, Thomas Klein, Jess Kuden, Alan Kurtzman, Nina Larova, Zelda Laventer, Suzanne Lax, Peter Leibovitz, Ron Levy, Aileen Lindenbaum, Matatia Melamed, Barbara Melnick, George Milder, Jenny Minlin, Suzanne Fine Murphy, Jamshid Nahore, Lil Newman, Steve Palitz, Leonard Penn, Gladys Polish, Bess Ratner, Mary Redler, Pamela Resnick, Israel Ritberg, Ralph Rosenbluth, Eric Rothenberg, Dorothy Rubin, Minnie Ruby, Betty Rudolph, Herbert Shermer, Shirley Glassberg Schwartz, Jacob Schwartz, Sherwood Schwartz, Robert Sedway, Alex Schulman, Barbara Siegelman, Robert Siegelman, Roseanne Silverman, Aaron Joshua Simmons, Max Sobel, Ida Sondheimer, Samuel Spalter, Pauline Stark, Janet Steinsapper, Stanley Talpis, Lester Tarr, Pauline Taylor, Marion Trebage, Louis Wallach, Jerry Weintraub, Edward Weiss, Joseph Weiner, Bernard Whitland, Lynn Wolfe, Theodore Zola. Are there any names to add? Thank you. Any other names? Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. We also remember those who gave their lives defending the United States of America and the state of Israel, and those who died in Highland Park last week, those who died in other senseless violence and terrorism, those who've died in illness, disease, the pandemic, and those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We take them all as our own as we rise, please, and turn to page 298. 294 for Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, v'yalma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon u'v'chayei dekol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei Rabba mavarach le'olam omei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitalev, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudusha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram v'yalma v'imru, amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
Please join us for our closing song, Adon Olam, on page 321.
Hasidic version.
Adon Olam Asher Malach, ay di B'terem kol Yetzir Nivra, ay di ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה. די אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, להתנסה וחפצו כל, אז המלך שמו נקרא, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית, בלי תכלית, ולא עוז והמשרה. ביי, אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, להתנסה וחפצו כל. Adon Olam Asher Malach Ay di Terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Ay di As I Melech Shemo Nikra Ay As I Melech Shemo Nikra Ay Beyado of Kid Rochi Meitishon Beyaira Beim Ruchi Geviati Adonai li velo ira Adon Olam Asher Malach Ay di V'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Ay di Yed Nasa V'hefso Kol Ay As I Melech Shemo Nikra Ay
Shabbat Shalom. Just stay for
Shabbat
1
Shalom.
second for Kiddush and Motzi.
You can find Kiddush on page 5.
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodesho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tchilo lemikrai kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim ki vaynu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'yamim v'shabbat kodeshecha be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadosh haShabbat. L'chaim. Is there a challah under there? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Anyone who would like some challah.
And there's some in the back too.